Hi, I'm Brandy Vaughan, and for those of you who don't know me, I have been an activist speaking out against SB 277 here in California.
Wow, what happened to our rights?
Yeah.
How did I sit back and let this happen?
Yeah.
This is a very slippery slope.
In this fight, I have been under a little bit of heat, and I wanted to document this just in case. I wanted to show some of the intimidation tactics that I've been under.
There is a lot of shady stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
I got involved in this fight because I used to work for Merck here in Santa Barbara where I live, and I worked there from 2001 until 2003, and I sold Vioxx for Merck. Vioxx was eventually taken off the market, and it was proven that Merck had knowledge that it increased heart attacks and stroke by 2 times, and it injured and killed a lot of people. It was eventually pulled off the market, and I lost a lot of faith in the healthcare system. I went to Europe, and then I came back with a 6-month-old son, and I was bullied at the pediatrician's office in San Francisco when I asked to see vaccine inserts and questions about them. That was a huge red flag for me because I already had mistrust of doctors and the healthcare system in general, and pharma. And so I did a lot of research, and that was 4 years ago, and that was where my vaccine research started. And I realized that they were not very safe, actually, and not very effective, and I chose not to vaccinate my son. So when I heard about SB 277 in California, I decided that it was important that my voice was heard and that I was speaking up against it and part of the fight. So when I made that decision 3 months ago, I know that I knew I was going to take some heat for it, but I wasn't quite sure how much heat. And so I'm making this video today to describe the intimidation tactics that have been used against me to try and silence me. The first one happened when I was coming back from the Capitol rally in Sacramento against SB 277.
We're not going away! We're not going away! We're not going away! We're not going away!
And I came home with a friend to my hide key being on my doorstep, open to the key. And the story behind this was a year ago when I bought my house, I hid that deep in the bushes, and 6 months ago I had looked for it because I thought, well, it's probably not a good idea to have a key to my house right outside my door. I couldn't find it, but when I came back from Sacramento that one time, it was about 2 months ago, that the key was on my doorstep, open to the key. That day I had my locks changed, and I called an alarm service, and I installed a $3,000 alarm system 2 days later. So what happened apparently is someone opened the door, the front door, went through the front door, picked the lock, and my alarm went off, and they immediately disarmed it with the master code, which nobody had but me. I made sure nobody else had that code, and they disarmed it at the panel with that code. Panels inside. According to the alarm company, at 3:45 in the morning, somebody entered in through the front door, the alarm went off. They disabled the alarm by putting in the master code right away into the panel. And then at 3:46 in the morning, my hallway monitor sensor went off. So someone went down the hall. And then at 3:48, someone opened my dining room window and then closed it right away. And then if you notice, the dining room window actually faces out towards the backyard, which is much more private than the front door, which they used to enter that time. And then they went over to the keypad, entered the code again, and then left through the front door at 3:49. After the incident, I talked to some security experts who have actually done intimidation for corporations, and they explained a few things. They said, well, A, they were probably tapping your place, so everything I say and do in here is listened to, if not watched. And then opening of the back window, because it's a much more private way to get in for future reference, for future visits. When I did return home, and the police came in and made sure nobody was here, and then I came in after the alarm was set off, after the break-in. And what I did notice was they had left this window unlocked, like this. And before I left for Sacramento, all of the windows and doors were locked, double locked actually. I went through twice to make sure that they were locked. So after that happened, I didn't really feel comfortable sleeping in my house again, because of course they could come in and disarm my alarm whenever they wanted. There wasn't really another way to secure the system. I changed the code, but again, who knows how they got the code in the first place. The security expert is pretty convinced that the house is tapped, my phone is being listened to, my conversation, my text messages, and then my computer, both of my computers as well. The next thing that happened actually was with my computer. So one of the things that the police wanted to know was if anything was taken in the break-in. Of course, nothing was, because they weren't here to take anything. I did have a computer here in a hiding spot, and when the police were here, I did actually come and look to make sure the computer was still here, and it's here above the microwave is its hiding spot. It's not a place anyone would know to look for the computer, and it's not, you know, especially in being here in only 4 minutes. 2 days later, after that happened, after the break-in happened, I walked into my place to move some stuff out, and the computer was taken from its hiding place and put in the middle of the floor. And so I came back home to pick up some stuff. I wasn't staying here any longer. And that message was there, which was obviously very scary, because clearly somebody had been listening in, if not watching, as to where the computer was. So after that, I decided that it would be best to get out of town, and I left town for a couple of weeks and really went off the grid for a good part of that. So after the computer incident and leaving town for 2 weeks, the day that I came back, I had a friend come with me, and him and I arrived at my place and found a ladder open right in front of my door, looking into the windows, the bedroom window. Now, this is my ladder, but this ladder lives in the garage. So it was clear that somebody had accessed the garage, brought out the ladder through the side of my house, opened it, looking right up into the window, and this happens to be the only window that I had blinds open. So that was quite a message. The security experts said, wow, what a better message than to say we're watching you. And this actually happened the day that I came back into town, so they clearly knew that, well, it happened the night before. They clearly knew when I was coming back. The neighbor who was feeding my dogs came over after half an hour after we found the ladder, and she asked, so what's with the ladder? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I didn't put it there. And she said, well, it wasn't there yesterday. So it means that it happened the night before I came back into town after 2 weeks. So clearly they are watching. The next incident was just 2 days later, and that's in the garage. This Buddha was on the floor. Normally the Buddha is pretty heavy. It was on here on top of the dog cage, holding the towel to cover it up at night for the dogs. So it was taken off of here, and there's really no way it could have fallen because, I mean, it's actually really heavy, and if it had fallen, it would have fallen, you know, some different way. But I walked in and I found it right there on the ground. The pictures were also knocked over. So then 2 days later, I noticed it first through the kitchen window, and it's not something I have ever seen before, but there is a duck. On my table. And when I talked to the security experts, I said, I don't understand the duck. And then it came to me that I had been on my phone having a lot of conversations about people asking me, you know, are you staying at your house? What are you going to do? And I used the term repeatedly, well, I'm not staying at my house. I feel like a sitting duck because they can get in at any time. And, you know, I'm a sitting duck. And so that was actually quite disturbing to come home to. Now I have a duck. I have never seen it before. It's not mine. Nobody else is having access that would bring a duck. It's a clear message that, again, they are watching me. And the intimidation is quite, you know, intimidating. And it's quite scary. So after all of these intimidation tactics, it's very hard to feel safe and secure, but I am not gonna go away. I mean, I'm not gonna be silenced because these are important issues and we need to expose what's really going on behind the mandatory vaccination bills. It has nothing to do with public health. It has everything to do with profit. And I hope that we can all continue this fight. We may have lost the battle, but we still have a war to win. And hopefully by documenting this intimidation, they won't be able to get away with it in the future, with me and with anyone else who speaks out. There is some evil going on here. We need to fight it.
So Brandy Vaughan was found dead. I don't know how many of you guys know who Brandy Vaughan is. She had the website and foundation learntherisk.org. She was an ex-Merck pharmaceutical whistleblower turned anti-vax. She formed the Council for Vaccine Safety when there was the first mandatory bill, SB 277 vaccination bill in California. She has brought incredible exposure to the vaccine industry corruption, and her son found her dead. At what point are people going to open their eyes and see this for what it is? Enough is enough. They're censoring accounts. They're taking down huge platforms. Anyone that speaks about anti-vax information. Del Bigtree's account was wiped out last week with 400,000 followers. He's the reason that the COVID vaccine has a placebo. His ICANN network is the reason that it has a placebo, and his account is wiped out off of Facebook. Stop Mandatory Vaccine group that I've been in for years with 300,000 people with unbelievable amounts of incredible information, taken down a few weeks ago. Huge platforms off YouTube, huge platforms off of Instagram. Anyone that is speaking out against the pharmaceutical industries and exposing their corruption is being censored. The medical mafia is cutting out the man's tongue. You know, it is unbelievable to me that all this information is out there and people still have the audacity to call it a conspiracy theory. You know what? It's not a conspiracy theory when the proof is out there. When these vaccine companies, such as I posted earlier about Pfizer and the fraud and the corruption and the criminals that Pfizer is, and Merck is the MMR vaccine, and that is the vaccine that has all the controversy that it causes autism, the measles, mumps, rubella. And then last year we had this measles frenzy, but no one knew anybody that had measles. And at the end of last year, we had 5 states that had gone mandatory vaccine. Guess what? Merck is also the same company that hired Julie Gerberding to be their VP. Do you know who Julie Gerberding is? Oh, she ran the the Center for Disease Control for 8+ years. The CDC, she ran it. And she left the CDC to become a VP of Merck after she doubled the childhood vaccine schedule. Is that not a conflict of interest? The CDC also holds over 50 patents to vaccines. You know what? That doesn't make them a government company. That makes them a vaccine company with vested interest. Pharmaceutical companies censor you. They're taking down accounts. These people are powerful, and enough is enough. And now they're going to mandate a vaccine that is still in phase 3 trials and tell us that we have to take it when there's ingredients that have never been done before, where the adverse reactions are coming out, where there's been death, there's been strokes, there's been heart attacks, they're saying pregnancy outcomes, they're saying infertility, sterilization, for a vaccine that they've already said is not going to protect us from the virus or prevent transmission. And let's just keep in mind that this virus we're being vaccinated for has a 99.9% survival rate. What part do people not understand? Now, I understand most of my following is on board with me, but people are going to share this message who don't know this information. And so I'm going to continue saying it. Vaccine companies cannot be liable. They were granted immunity in 1986 by Congress under the Vaccine Childhood Injury Act. You cannot sue a vaccine company, and Bill Gates made sure of that. When he got involved in this, he made sure that that was still in effect. You can't sue a vaccine company if they kill you, if they maim you, if they hurt you or your child. Here's the other thing that people don't realize. Tucker Carlson last night talking about how the vaccine's now a racial vaccine and they want to distribute it to the blacks first. I've got a video of Melinda Gates saying black people need to get this first. They're calling black people to the studies. They're saying it's going after minority groups. Do people not see a problem with this? How about the fact that Bill Gates' grandfather was partners or ran the head of Planned Parenthood? And Planned Parenthood exterminates 1 million black babies a year. And he was partners with a known eugenic, Margaret Sanger. Bill Gates has been sending vaccines to Africa and maiming and killing children in Africa. That's not on the news. You're not going to hear that in the media. But now they're calling for black people to get this vaccine. People are being censored. Accounts are being wiped out. We've got the UK working with America for a cyber tool to take down domains. There's that talk about anti-vax information. They've got a name for us now called vaccine hesitancy, vaccine resistance. The proof is out there. This is an extremely, extremely corrupt industry. They are murderers. They are criminals. There are 8 billion people on this planet. And if everyone starts to learn what this is really about and says no to this vaccine, the rest of our lives aren't going to be ruined. They can't mandate a vaccine at your job when no one takes it. They're not going to mandate a vaccine on the airline when no one takes it because they have no revenue. They have no one to come in and work. But meanwhile, they're destroying all the middle-class businesses so that we have to go to places like Target and the larger stores and order from Amazon and, have to have these big tech giants that... It's mind-blowing to me, guys. It's mind-blowing to me that people still cannot see this for what it is. I am absolutely disheartened that this woman was found dead. You know the media is going to spin it. You know the media is going to come out if they cover it, because there have been hundreds of people found dead over the last few years who were doing everything from being holistic to curing cancer, and they've been suicided. And here's the other thing. Brandy Vaughan put on her Facebook recently that she doesn't take antidepressants, she doesn't have heart issues, she's not suicidal because she knew that and she admitted to certain people that her life was being threatened by pharma. She had a huge platform, and this is what they do to people with large platforms. And I have been screaming from a mountaintop for people to open up their eyes about this vaccine industry. There's a handful of us putting this information out for years, and people are starting to wake up, but it's not enough. It is not enough. They're still going to make people's life extremely difficult if you don't take this vaccine that has mRNA material in it that has never been used in a vaccine before. I don't know what the problem is. I understand that people have a hard time. I understand that people want to believe their government and want to believe the doctor that they've been seeing their whole life. But your doctor is a salesman for pharmaceutical. He is paid, he gets kickbacks, especially with the childhood vaccine schedule. Your doctor is paid $80,000 extra. I think it's $80,000 extra for every 100 children that he vaccinates. And if you don't fully vaccinate your child, you screw up his schedule. These people are paid, they get kickbacks. It is known how dirty the pharmaceutical industry is. I don't know what else. You can't just close your eyes and blindly say, I'm going to take the vaccine because I want my life back and pray for the best. It's not going to work that way. It is not going to work that way. People need to start banding together. People need to start sticking up. I had someone the other day that goes to a Christian school telling me that they're demanding the vaccine schedules with the aborted fetal tissue in it. How are these moms not getting together, printing out all the vaccines that have these aborted fetal tissues and showing up at the principals of these schools' offices and saying, no, we're not going to inject our kid with aborted fetal tissue? What part do people not understand? But everyone's just blindly closing their eyes saying, I can't, I'm going to stick my head in the sand because I can't be the anti-vax mom and I can't be that person. I have to change my life. Well, guess what, people? It is life or death now. It is time you either stand up and you fight this thing, or you're going to be one of the people who are going to have to face the consequences. You and your family. You and your family. If you say yes to this vaccine, you are assisting in the agenda.